In today's episode of Picking Brains, I'll be speaking with Tom Donegan, a person who is working in a charity called Special Effect, who are doing some amazing things in helping people with physical disabilities enhance and improve their lives through technology and gaming. Tom and company are doing some amazing things, not only helping people, but also changing the stigma of what gaming and esports overall is, and showing that there's a lot more to gaming than just sitting in front of a computer. So without further ado, I really hope you enjoyed this interview, and let's get straight into it. I met you at an esports event, and I was truly impressed how you're using gaming to improve the lives of the physically disabled people through a charity you're working in Special Effect. Now, before we dive into all of that in more detail, what I really like to understand better is how you actually got to this point. I mean, you've done quite a few things before getting involved with esports and gaming and the Special Effects charity, including getting a master's in theater and film, right? You were a project manager of a lot of different arts-based organizations. And I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but you even wrote children's books, didn't you?
Yeah, a little bit of that.
So it would be really interesting to hear actually how you got to this point, because it's quite a journey, it seems.
Yeah, no, it is quite strange. I think you see it all written on paper, but I guess my kind of through line through it all is the fact that I'm very passionate about helping people and working in the kind of non-profit sector. So all of those different various jobs that I've had, they've all been working for organizations or charities or festivals that have essentially been about helping people, whether that's through improving the literacy of children or sort of working with different communities, for example, bringing theatre into prisons, that kind of thing. And I guess I see what I'm doing now with Special Effects as a kind of continuation of that journey, in that it's about kind of helping people who have no access to this thing that we all love and are passionate about, to enjoy it on the same kind of way that we do, and we all take for granted. So it is a slightly strange path through, but I actually have had a relationship with Special Effects on a personal level since the very beginning, because the charity was created by my father.
And it's been going on for what? Is it gone for about 10, 11 years now, isn't it?
Yeah. So it was founded officially in 2007, and essentially before then, for a couple of years, my dad had been thinking about it as a kind of concept, and talking to various people, some of whom still work for Special Effect and have been with it, throughout the last 12 years. And my involvement at that stage was it was quite basic, I guess. But I just finished my master's that you referred to, and I didn't really have anything to do for the summer, so I helped out doing some of the paperwork. Charities take a lot of paperwork to get started. Right. There's lots of forms to fill out. You've got to get bank accounts set up and all those things. Quite kind of fundamental to any organization. So essentially, I kind of helped out voluntarily on that side of things. Even did the first few little fundraising activities to get enough money to buy the first telephone that we had, because you can't do anything without a telephone, Yeah. So it's quite funny now when I sort of chat to the guys who were around at that time. We look back to where it all began, and the humble origins of the charity, and it's quite nice to remember those times.
Yeah. How do you see those people react when you bring in your solutions, your products through your charity for them to be able to play those games? And what are the reactions, and sort of maybe there's something that really stuck with you from working with these people? Maybe there's a story or something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, There are some similarities, and certainly we do view video games as a very kind of creative and also very social activity. I think a lot of the time in the mainstream media, people that don't really know what they're talking about will see it as the opposite of that. But certainly for the people that we're working with, it does give them the ability to, especially if you look at games like Minecraft, for example, you can do essentially whatever you want within that game, and you can be very creative with it. So there's a young woman that we work with who's been sort of associate of the charity for a very long time. Her name is Becky, and she uses eye tracking technology to play that game and other games too. But she's done all sorts of things within the game. She's like built her own theatre, to put on her own plays.
So when you say eye tracking, how does that work? Is it just is there like a cursor or something that's moving depending where your eyes are? Like how does it work?
Yeah, I mean, in very sort of simple terms, essentially there's an infrared camera that tracks the movement of your eyes. And originally, the technology was developed to allow for people who are doing market research. So, for example, if you were setting up a website and you want to know the best place on the website to put your advert, you would use this device to test where people looked when they first, clicked on the web page. But we, along with various different companies, have worked to almost reverse engineer it so that now that you can use the same essential technology to control rather than just to read the movement. So yes, you can use it to operate a cursor, and then some people might use it just to kind of navigate the desktop in a similar way that we would use a mouse. You can then also use it to operate like an on-screen keyboard, just by like looking at the letters to type. And then we've taken it one step further with something like our iMine interface, where we've designed a particular piece of software that sits over Minecraft, and you can use that to essentially have full functionality within the game just by looking at icons on this interface. And you can like level up so that when you start, you're using a very simple interface of just maybe a dozen or even fewer sort of grids on the screen to choose whatever action you want to take, whether it's walk or fly or kill. And then, as you get better, your control gets better, you can kind of go to more nuanced controls, I guess, and have the full functionality within the game. So we're quite proud of that bit of kit.
That's amazing.
People are interested, they can kind of download it for free and have a play from our website. And so, with something like that, you really are opening up this whole world. And as you know, like Minecraft's not for everybody, but for people that love it, it's a very social platform. You can have whole communities within the game, and so that's a great example for us of a way that, a little bit like you were saying about the kind of the theatre work, it's a way of just breaking down barriers and giving people the chance to interact and express themselves and to sort of engage with other people and build communities.
So how did you feel it affected those people? Did you see like a big shift in how they approach day-to-day life after going through this gaming experience?
Yeah, well, certainly something that we've heard firsthand is that it really does open up a door, because people can be very isolated if they have a physical disability. It's very difficult for them to sort of get out and about into the world, and even if they are kind of very outgoing, and we work with people who are kind of a full spectrum of abilities. So maybe some people are still they're going out to work during the day, but when they get home in the evenings, maybe they just want to stay home and they just want to relax. They don't want to go out again. So for them to be able to kind of socialize through video games, but still have a kind of activity like that they engage with in the evenings, is really important. It gives them something to look forward to in their free time, their leisure time.
Are you a gamer yourself, or do you used to be a gamer?
I am, but I'd say I'm quite casual.
Yeah. So what was your involvement with the esports community before Special Effect, if any?
Well, it's grown up around the charity work. To be honest with you, like when I was kind of a lot younger, like a teenager, and through my childhood and sort of teenage years, I was a lot more into gaming. I spent a lot more time sort of being able to play and stuff, and like there's quite a funny picture. Going way back to when I was like a 2-year-old, and I had one of those playpens, and my dad, because he was like always interested in computers, he put 2 things into my playpen that probably shouldn't have been there as a kid. One of them was like an electric guitar because he wanted me to be a rock star, and the other was a BBC microcomputer. I don't know if you remember these things. They're like very, very old school, like very, very basic games like Frogger and Space Invaders and all the old arcade games. So I think at the very early age, he like wanted me to be like, either a rock star or like a programmer or something. I didn't become either, but like I've always like played games. I always like enjoyed music as well, and the arts. And nowadays, though, I guess it's more like I'll go home and I'll like play some PlayStation and stuff. It's less about PC gaming than maybe it was when I was a teenager. But one of the interesting things, the reason why I kind of talk about the old days, is that from when I left off playing games, like went off to university and stuff, and then when I came back as an employee of Special Effect, to see the huge change that had taken place, not only in terms of like the quality of the games, obviously, and things, but just the way people were playing, like playing online and things. Like that was a huge leap forward. Like I used to have to like pick up my PC and walk it like round to my mate's house to like play.
Yeah, like a LAN party.
Like my poor brother like used to have to carry the monitor like up the hill.
Yeah, we used to do that.
And then like I went away from gaming for a few years, come back, and like there are kids playing like online against like huge like groups of people, and huge massive communities, and likewise tournaments taking place and stuff like that, and then a level up from that, the kind of events and arena stuff around esports was just amazing, to see. And I kind of wish now, seeing the kind of way it's taken off, and the fact that you can jet around the world playing games, I kind of wish I'd stuck at it a bit more. Kept playing like, but yeah. So I guess it was more just seeing the kind of that growth, and seeing the audience as well around it, and with my kind of events head on and my fundraising head on, thinking, what, there's something in this. On 2 levels, really, I guess, in terms of finding an audience and a group of people who might be interested to hear about the work of the charity, and either benefit as service users or feel that it's a cause that they want to support. So hence, we've gone along to events like the Esports Insider forums, and also when the invitations have been forthcoming. Last year we went to the ESL sort of one event in Birmingham and stuff, just to kind of meet people and tell them about what the charity does, and be a part of the event in that way. And then the other side of it, I guess, is wanting to learn more about like how tournaments run and stuff, because then we've started to run some of our own like little tournaments for charity, where people like donate to play, and we get like different companies involved in that, and maybe streamers and stuff too. So that's kind of now where I'm kind of, my interest is, I guess, in terms seeing the way that the charity can be involved and benefit from the association, I guess, with this really exciting new.
Yeah. So just a quick, like, to piggyback on that, I think because esports is growing quite rapidly now, it's becoming really popular, and I think it reached a level where it's just so much more than just gaming. And a lot of people now want to educate themselves more on it. They want to actually get involved a bit more, even if they weren't gamers themselves, or maybe they were 10 years ago or something like that. So for somebody looking to get into the esports world, where would you suggest to start? So is it attending events, or is there something else? Like what would you say is the best approach?
I think, I can only speak from personal experience, but for me, actually going along to events and meeting people was a fantastic sort of way in. And the thing that was really surprising to me was how kind of generous and open people were when I met them for the first time. Like, especially my first ESI forum, I did not know anyone there. I did not know anything about the kind of world and how I guess how things worked, like, on a more business level, because those events are quite business oriented. So for the most part, I was just sat back and I was just listening to what people were saying. But the guys who run the event were really, really generous, and they gave me like a little 5-minute window at the start of the event just to make a pitch about special effect, and that was great, because what it meant was throughout the rest of the evening, people were just coming up to me to have a conversation and stuff. I got to find out a bit more about what they did and vice versa. So, I know that's not possible for everybody, because, unless you're based in London or Manchester or Birmingham, or one of these cities where a lot of these events happen, it might not be as feasible to get along. But certainly for me, that was really useful. And then I guess as well, just attending the tournaments. If you get a ticket to one of the live events, and just to kind of see it for yourself. But I guess, having said all of that, like, the wonderful thing is that, like, all of these events now are live streamed. You can watch for free. And I think maybe the trick there is just to find the kind of game and tournament that's the one for you, and maybe sort of reading a bit around, using kind of media sources like esports news and esports insider, to kind of find out a little bit more about the tournaments that are going down and stuff. It's probably a good way to start. But I guess what Belong are doing, and the Insomnia events as well, the way that they're kind of democratizing the actual participation, the fact that, if you're good enough, you might not be like elite level, but if you're good enough to kind of play for your local team, then you can kind of take part in tournaments and stuff, and then get a sense of what it's like to kind of go to events and be up on stage and stuff like that. I think that's a really nice model, and it's also something that we would kind of have an affinity with, because we're all about giving everyone opportunities to play. So I kind of like what they're doing there, and it's great to see those tournaments evolve.
So with esports obviously growing so fast, technology grows very fast alongside it, right? They kind of go hand in hand. Special effect being there for 11 years already, what was the biggest shift maybe you've noticed during those years in both sort of technological and gaming that maybe helped, get special effect where it is, in terms of what kind of, products you provide and what you create and what kind of innovations you do? And also taking that into consideration, is this something that you're really excited about going forwards?
It's a nice question. It's nice to think about the kind of the tipping point, I guess, for us as a charity. And I think, as I was saying at the beginning of the conversation, we've always been really lucky. We've benefited from local support and whether it's individuals or companies, sort of getting behind us, and we wouldn't be where we are today without those guys coming on board at the beginning and giving us the kind of the leg up. But certainly as a charity, we noticed a big difference, like a kind of a catalyst kind of boost, probably about 5 or 6 years ago now, where suddenly it seemed that not just a few individuals, but the kind of games industry as a kind of a whole, and gaming communities kind of that were kind of aligned to the games that they were producing. Suddenly, something seemed to click. They suddenly went, "Oh my God, this accessibility issue is really, really important."
Yeah.
And it's not just a kind of minority concern, but actually giving as many people the opportunity to play as possible is something that benefits us all, as studios and developers, because suddenly our games can reach a whole new audience, but also as communities, playing the games, we can be more inclusive, and we can involve people who previously have been maybe excluded from playing, and we kind of, it's hard to sort of maybe pinpoint a moment that it happened, but suddenly we found that people really wanted to have this conversation about accessibility, and it might have been developers saying, well, what can we do to make our games more accessible? We see what you're doing as a charity, working one-to-one with individuals, but are there things that we can put into the games at source that would mean that your job was a little bit easier, So we started to have meetings with developers and maybe suggest stuff around the things that they could put into their games, assistive controls, or maybe different menu options, that kind of thing. Then also, we sort of almost around the same time, the kind of communities aligned to those games suddenly became really interested in what we did, and they started to sort of run fundraising events off their own bat.
Mm-hmm.
We had initiatives like Humble Bundle. I don't know if you've encountered this before, but they basically allow studios to put their games up and then sell them through this platform that allows the buyer to give a percentage to charity.
Right.
And people were kind of getting in touch and saying, oh, I just bought this game and I gave 100% to special effects, and that kind of snowballed. So that was great, because obviously having that income allowed us to essentially help more people, first and foremost, and increase our team here so that we could kind of expand our skills and create, I guess, more avenues to work with people on like the R&D level and things, which is important. And the kind of outcomes of all of that, if you look sort of, maybe 5 years down the line, are things like the Xbox Adaptive Controller, which came out last September. And again, in terms of like huge leap forward, this was like the first accessible controller that was available, I guess, through mainstream channels. Previously, you had to go to like a specialist supplier, or you had to come to Special Effect to make something for you, like individually. And that work still goes on, but the adaptive controller has just made the whole process a lot simpler and a lot more reliable. I've got one here if you want to have a look at what it looks like.
Absolutely.
So yeah, this is the device itself.
Right.
This is how it comes when it's boxed up, and I'll just sort of take it out the box. So this is actually a project that we worked with Xbox and Microsoft on. It was about 3 years in the making, and there were a number of charitable organisations, ourselves in the UK, and several groups over in America as well. And so, essentially, the process was that Xbox knew they wanted to create a device that would allow more people to play, but they then approached organizations like Special Effects and our friends in America, and the idea was that they would use our experience, like what we'd learned from working with people over the years, face to face, what people were asking for, the challenges that they faced, and they would sort of put all of those kind of learnings into this one package, and then. Through the prototype phase, they then involved us in user testing. Maybe some of the individuals that we work closely with were given kind of early examples and asked to test them and use them and feedback.
Yes.
And then what you ended up with was something that is pretty incredible, really.
So for somebody that's just listening on audio, not video, could you just describe what are the sort of biggest differences between a regular Xbox controller and something like that, and why does it make it sort of more accessible?
Yeah, no problem. I mean, so we're all familiar with the kind of regular Xbox or PS4 controllers. They're quite fiddly. I mean, they're designed that way. They're designed to be ergonomic. You can grip them really nicely, and they've got lots of buttons on to allow you like lots of different control options. But for somebody who maybe struggles with their motor skills or has reduced muscle strength, reduced flexibility, or even maybe has only the use of one hand or even no hands at all, you can imagine it's quite a tricky thing to use. And a lot of the time in the past, if we were faced with these challenges, we were either having to take controllers apart and then refashion them ourselves, which is quite an intricate process, or we were having to create setups that involve numerous switches, and then they would be going through a kind of a motherboard that was essentially, borrowed bits from other controllers and
Right.
Was prone to being a little bit problematic sometimes. And maybe if Xbox did an update and the device that we were working with didn't have the necessary kind of coding in it, it would stop working. And you'd come across a lot of problems because it wasn't an officially branded product. So what you have now through the Xbox Adaptive Controller is what it looks like is a kind of a drum pad or something. It's a rectangular device. It has these two very large buttons on it, which act as your kind of A and B buttons, and then an enlarged kind of control pad and buttons on it. But the thing that makes it, I mean, it's very striking to look at, but the thing that makes it really, really sort of useful to us in our work is that along the back of it, there are all this sort of inputs for different switches and triggers, so that essentially with different devices, joysticks, switches, and buttons, you can replicate all of the different functionality you'd have on the regular controller with different devices that you can then position accordingly to the individual. So this just gives you so much more flexibility, and it'll plug and play every time, because it's an official Microsoft product. Plug it into Xbox or a PC, it works every time straight away. No problems, no issues with updates, anything like that. So it's a really, really useful piece of kit. It can be remapped. You can use it with Copilot. All these incredible kind of options that are out there for people now.
How does it feel? How does it feel seeing that after all that work being put in before, and now having this device that really brings that accessibility that you actually probably dreamt of before when you just started?
It was a really fantastic moment. Like when we first saw it, and because it was around last May time that they kind of initially started trailing it, and it did feel like a really significant milestone. And I guess the thing that was also nice about it was because of the kind of the mainstream appeal and sort of marketing voice that Microsoft have, suddenly you had people like the One Show on BBC over here, Channel 4 News. They were all picking up on the story. They were all coming to talk to us. They were interviewing some of the people that we work with, and it just really felt like finally this whole question of accessible gaming had become a kind of a mainstream talking point, and with all the work that ourselves and so many other people have been putting in over the years to kind of to bring things up to that point, you suddenly had this great platform to kind of share the good news, as it were, about people being able to use this device to play in a way that just sort of a decade ago would be completely unthinkable. And then the kind of the cherry on the cake, I think, for that story is that for the Super Bowl this year, Microsoft put out this incredible advert that was like featured lots of people with physical disabilities using their device, and really just changing the kind of the message around or the perceptions around what people think about when they think about people with disabilities playing, because something that we've always been passionate about is essentially you're trying to bring people up to a level playing field so that they can, to the best of their ability, they can play against whoever they want to, whether they're other people with physical disabilities or whether people who are regularly abled, or essentially just giving people the opportunity to do whatever it is they want to do with the technology. And this advert really just showed that. It showed you people like completing levels, setting fastest lap times, scoring amazing goals. So it wasn't about like simplifying it or dumbing it down in any way. It was just about showing people sort of achieving through video games. And it was a lovely, really positive message that went out to like the biggest audience for any media event in the world. So that really did feel like a kind of a lovely moment, like the cherry on the cake, as I said.
Yeah. So what's next then? What are you excited about next? So you've achieved all these milestones now. What are you excited about going forward?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been great to be part of that story, and lots of other great sort of every day is another sort of we hear about great stuff because our guys are going out, they're on the road, they're coming back with wonderful videos and photographs of people playing games, so in some ways every day is its own like little milestone, which is lovely, but for us as a charity, the next thing that we're really excited about is we're going to be bringing out an online suite of games that have been specifically designed by our R&D team in conjunction with service users and a company called Sun and Moon, who are a small games developer down in Bristol. And the idea with these games is that they will be fully eye gaze accessible, eye tracking accessible. Often what we find is that even if you make great leaps forward with games like FIFA and eye tracking, for the vast majority of people, you still need at least one switch or one button to enable people to play the game. However, what we wanted was for people that have only eye gaze, maybe they've had a high spinal injury and that they can only move their eyes, or maybe they've got motor neuron disease or a condition like this, and they can only use their eyes to control. We wanted games that they could play and they could play really well. So at the moment they're quite straightforward games. So we've got things like Connect 4, we've got a simple racing game, we've got chess, checkers, and games like this. But it was almost like an experiment for ourselves to see, is it possible to create something that works just really, really well for this particular group of people? And I'm really pleased that it's up and running in beta, and we're going to be releasing the full version later in the year.
Yeah.
And then the idea, hopefully, is that it will then inspire other developers to come on board, and maybe if they're having a game jam, or they just want to do something a bit different, they might be able to create a game that fits into this suite, and this free to play, fully accessible, and also available online, so essentially anyone around the world can play it. So it's maybe not going to make the Super Bowl, but it's for that particular group of people, it'll be a really, really nice thing for them to have. And again, just another way of us sort of showing what is possible, and hoping that other people will kind of be inspired by it, and take it forward. Because there's only so much that anyone can do in isolation, and we're a small charity. There's only about 25 of us here, and we're working in the UK, which is our focus, but we're always keen to kind of involve sort of people around the globe in what we do, and so doing something like this is a great way of doing that.
Yeah. I mean, what you're doing overall, I think is really, I think for one, it's really inspiring. And I think for two it's just seeing how hard work can actually pay off, and how you can actually change people's lives in so many different ways. And for you using gaming in particular to do that, I think is really impressive. And through doing that, you actually are changing the stigma and how people perceive gaming overall, showing that there's a lot more to it than it might seem at first hand. So for somebody that really wants to follow the whole progress and process, maybe get to know more about Special Effect, yourself, and what you're doing, where can people find you online? What's the best place?
Yeah, so specialeffect.org.uk is the website. We're also pretty active on social. So the Twitter,
any particular social?
Yeah. Well, the Twitter account is like, there's always stuff happening there every day. So that's at Special Effect. And then we also have Facebook. I think it's Special Effect Charity, and then Instagram, which is Special Effect Team. It's always one word. So Special Effect is always one word.
Well, I'll put the links in the description.
Great. But yeah. So, and yeah, we really like to sort of share the good news about what we're doing. So if you think you might be interested, and you want to hear kind of what's going on, and see great examples of people playing games when previously they might not have thought they were able to, then yeah, do follow our channels, because it's a nice little kind of bit of joy every day when we post something up. I think it's a good boost, I think, in a tough world.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm really excited of what you're going to be doing next. Really, thank you for your time, Tom. Okay. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Best of luck with everything that you're doing. It's as I said initially, it's really inspiring work, and I'm really looking forward to actually chatting with you in a year's time or stuff like that to really see what you've managed to achieve as well. So really, thank you for your time, mate.
No problem. Thank you.